These past weeks has been days and days of reflection for me because I had to really sit and think if God's standard has really changed or if God has gone lenient concerning his judgment on people. When you go through the social media or even around the society, we see things that are not pleasing, things that are against the will of God, and it's now become new normal. Are there no longer consequences for sin? This video, I hope I'll be able to speak the mind of God concerning all that is happening in our society now. When you look around you on social media, in the society, everywhere you go, you see things that were not normal are now normalized in the society now. Talking of premarital sex, talking of indecent dressing, homosexuality, things that were done in the hidden that people were very people were not bold enough to come out to do. Now you can see that it is normal. It is like the new normal. And this got me thinking for the past few weeks if God has really gone lenient or if God has really become lenient concerning judgment of his people. Now, I was speaking to one of my friends recently and she was talking to me of how someone she knew got pregnant for a guy she'll be married to in a few months. And when she was saying it, she said, "Oh, it's God's will." And the question just popped into my mind: can premarital sex ever be God's will? Many of us, when we do things that are wrong, that are not biblical, that the Bible really is against, we tend to pin it on God and say, "Oh, it's because God permitted it, that's why it happened. It's not my fault, it's God's will." But the thoughts of God are always of good and not of evil, to give us an expected end. God's expected end for us can never be bad. It can never be premarital sex. It can never be things that he has talked against in the Bible. But clearly, God has given us the decision to choose between life and death. In Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 19, it says, "I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live." So what God has done is that he has given us the decision to choose between life and death, to choose between good and bad. So whatever outcome comes from it, if it is good, then all glory should be to him. But if it is the other way around, we shouldn't pin it that, "Oh, it's God's fault," because his will was clearly written in this verse. It says that, "Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live." So his will, his own advice to us is that we should choose life and not death. And one thing is, God's standard never changes. He himself doesn't change. His word never changes. He said in his word in Hebrew 13 verse 8, says, "The same yesterday, today, and forever." So the God that was present during the time of the Israelites or in the Old Testament is still the same God that is present in the New Testament. God's standard never changes, still remains the same, and he is still very much interested in us obeying his instruction. He's still very much interested in us following his will. He has said in his word that we should leave the bed undefiled. So why do we tend to go our way and do things that are against his word and do things that are against his instruction? And when the consequences come, we now pin it on him and say, "Oh, it's God's will. Yes, he permitted it to happen. It was God." God's will is always good. God's thoughts is always good, and any outcome of his instruction, any outcome or rule he must have given to you to obey, the outcome will always be good. In that same Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, it says that choose life so that thy seed might live. So that is just the reward of them choosing life. So just think about it. What will be the reward of you choosing death? The free will has been given unto man to choose to go left or to go right, to choose to either do good or to do bad, to choose to either choose life or to choose death. And for those that decided to choose death, the consequences are listed in Romans chapter 1 verse 28, where the Bible says that it gave them over to their reprobate mind to do things that are pleasing to them, and so that they might reap the consequences of their sin. Something that burdens my heart, that I wish to see in my generation and in my time, that people will go back to study the standards of the Bible, that people will go back and realize that they are doing things wrong and that the new normal is not pleasing in the sight of God.